Hi, it's Dad from Dad Drinks, where every pour tells a story, and it's Mardi Gras week. Mardi Gras is actually on Tuesday. That is Fat Tuesday. So why don't we make a drink from New Orleans, and we'll make basically what I think is the signature drink of New Orleans, which is the Sazerac. So the Sazerac was created by a guy named Antoine Peychaud. And he actually had a pharmacy in New Orleans back in the 1800s, and he developed this drink called the Sazerac. So, for the Sazerac, the first thing we're going to do is take a little bit of absinthe. Just a little bit. You're going to put it in your glass that you're going to mix with. And you're just going to swirl it around. It's called an absinthe rinse. Just to get it on the inside of the glass, and then pour it out. Next thing you're going to do, 2 ounces of rye. So we'll get that. You're going to put that in a mixing glass. I'm not going to do that in the actual glass that we're going to drink out of right now. 2 ounces of rye. Spilling stuff all over the place. And then, these are Peychaud bitters. These are the bitters that Antoine came up with. 3 dashes of Peychauds. So there we go. Stir that up. Just basically so that you're mixing the bitters in with the rye, and you're basically cooling down the rye. So get that nice and cool. We're going to take a big rock, put it in our rocks glass, strain out basically rye. That's basically what this is. This is basically rye with some bitters in it, and you're going to get a little bit of the absinthe because you rinsed the glass with it. And that basically is a Sazerac. And what I always say every time I grab a Sazerac is, it smells like cough syrup. Doesn't matter where I buy it from, where I get it. I go, smells like cough syrup. And it does. Also smells like licorice. That's the absinthe. So, the other thing is you can make a Sazerac with like brandy. You can add that into it. You can make it with other whiskeys such as bourbon. But basically it's rye, absinthe, and the bitters. That's pretty much about it. So this is a famous drink from New Orleans, which of course is probably the most famous city in the country that celebrates Mardi Gras. And what is Mardi Gras? Well, Mardi Gras is the French term for Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras. Gras is the fat part of it. Mardi is Tuesday in French, and that's what it is. And it is the last day before Lent. Lent usually happens on, begins on a Wednesday. I think it's called Shrove Wednesday. And it is the last day before Lent. So they have these big parties and everything else in New Orleans, culminating on that Fat Tuesday. And the whole point is supposed to be that since you are going to deny yourself during Lent, and you're going to not, you don't eat meat on Fridays, you pick something else, hopefully not booze, that you're not going to have during the entire season of Lent. So the whole point is to have that bacchanal on Tuesday and just go crazy and celebrate and do all these things that you are then going to give up for the next Lent lasts, I think, like 6 weeks or something, going into Easter. And in New Orleans, it's all kinds of stuff, right? It actually starts on 12th night, which is the 12th day of Christmas, which is January 6th. And from January 6th, leading into Mardi Gras, which I believe this year is on February, let's see, the 3rd is, so that would be the 4th, February 4th, which is the first Tuesday of February. So from 12th night, which is on January 6th, basically for a month, leading into the 4th of February, they would have all kinds of parties and all kinds of parades and everything else. And the interesting thing is that I found when I went to New Orleans, and I went to New Orleans not anywhere near Mardi Gras because I have no desire to be there and to be on Bourbon Street during Mardi Gras. So I went in like April, I think, the one time I visited. But we took a tour and we went to one of the areas where they keep all the floats and everything. And what they have is it's all different groups of people who put together those floats, and they're called crews, Krewe. And they're the crews, man the floats, they do the music, they do everything during these parades. And a lot of those parades, while you might think that they happen on Bourbon Street, that's where the main parade happens. But actually, throughout New Orleans, there's another area of New Orleans called the Garden District, and that's where they have a lot of the parades as well. And the thing was, when we were there in April, as we were driving through the area on our little tour, you could still see the beads hanging from like balconies and hanging off of utility lines, telephone lines, whatever, that were crossing across the street because they just hadn't picked them up since Mardi Gras. So they have all kinds of stuff. One of the big things they have during Mardi Gras at the end of it is the king cake, which is where you dig through the cake to find, a special prize, kind of like, I guess, Cracker Jacks, but it's inside of a cake. It is, like I said, the last day before Lent. They have all these parties, all these parades, everything else. And that's what Mardi Gras is all about. So what I will say is during the next week, as we go through Mardi Gras leading up to Fat Tuesday, we're going to have a bunch of different reels. We're going to do a bunch of different drinks from New Orleans. Things like the Ramos Gin Fizz. That ought to be fun because it's going to be, a 90-second reel, but it's going to be all broken up because it's going to take me about 20 minutes to actually shake it. Because if you know anything about the Ramos Gin Fizz, it's all about the shaking, making sure everything's mixed in. We maybe do a Hurricane. We'll do a View Car, some other things. All these drinks that I learned about while I went to New Orleans about 10 years ago. So have yourself a ball. Have yourself a party. Probably not going to have yourself a parade, although I don't know, maybe you do. Maybe you'll have a parade down your street. Get a fake, float or whatever. And then the really interesting thing about this year in Mardi Gras and this year in New Orleans is, how does Mardi Gras week end? Mardi Gras week's going to end with the big game, Kansas City, Philadelphia Eagles, and we'll deal with that next week. So from Dad Drinks, where every pour tells a story, cheers, have yourself a Sazerac, get a little cough syrup, whatever you're going to do, and tune in the rest of the week and we'll make some other New Orleans drinks. Please hit like and subscribe, and visit daddrinks.com for recipes, merchandise, and more fun stuff.